will be valuable and enriching experience for all of you. We are excited to see the innovative ideas and collaborative efforts that will emerge from this global event. Let us make the most of this opportunity to learn, grow, and connect. Thank you and welcome once again. Today is the day 11th. Our resource person, Dr. Resmi, Assistant Professor, Research Department of English, MES, Esmabi College, Thrissur, Kerala. I want to say some few words about the resource person. Dr. Resmi currently serving as an assistant professor in PG and Research Department of English at MES Esmabi College, Kodungalu since 2012. She has actively participated in numerous FDP programs, seminars, and webinars as a resource person and invited speaker focusing on subjects within English literature, multidisciplinary subjects, and research ethics. With a prolific publication record encompassing multiple research articles in various international and national journals and books. She had also delivered academic presentations at international and national platforms. Her contribution extend to editorial role as a board editor and associate editor for books. In addition to chairing academic sessions, furthermore, she fulfilled the role of reviewer for ATARS journal at Saida University, Algeria. Madam, over to you. Madam, Madam Dr. Resmi,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction, Dr. Kesham Shubharani Devi ma'am. I'm much grateful to the organizers of this FDP. Uh, rightly, with all permission, I am just moving to my slides. So, hope my slides are visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, good evening, one and all, assembled over here. It's my privilege to act as today's resource person for the International Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology, a Qualitative Approach, jointly organized by IIDM Tamil Nadu and Southfield College, West Bengal. The topic that I have chosen for today's presentation is research ethics and bias mitigation. As we all know that the journey of research provides immeasurable opportunities for personal as well as professional growth. And clear ethical standards and principles exist, and every researcher must plan, conduct, and involve in an ethical research. And this is the need of the hour. And only then we can reduce the biases or unnecessary prejudices, as well as unscientific biases or conclusions. So it is in this way that research ethics will definitely lead to bias mitigation. And this is what I'm trying to cover throughout my presentation. Why take the journey of research? So we know that throughout the ages, we have this ardent desire to pursue the upper limits of our capabilities And it is in this context that we come across research. So mere earning a postgraduate degree or an MPhil degree won't be suffice in today's academic scenario. So immediately after we become postgraduate, we go on with the intention of completing the doctoral degree. So this is considered to be completing a dissertation journey is considered to be an adventure in both learning as well as personal growth. So as a part of this personal growth, we come across various kinds of processes, academic processes like extensive reading, observation, comprehension, examination, and as a result, it offers incomparable opportunities for personal as well as for professional growth. So obtaining a doctoral degree is just like embarking a new and exciting journey. So it's just like research is just like climbing a high mountain fraught with hazards and obstacles. But once we reach the peak, it's just like experiencing the pinnacle of academic achievement. So definitely research is meaningful and research is the need of the hour. So research and academic endeavor must cater to various ethical practices. So academic honesty, integrity, ethics, and transparency are the underlying tenets for conducting qualitative research. Academic honesty means that we have to acknowledge all sources in both educational as well as research purposes. Academic institutions declare the certain code of ethics for conducting research and academic activities in a transparent manner. So the originality of the work conducted by the researcher has to be established to justify one's creative content. For this, a researcher or an academician must be honest, transparent, ethical, and integral in research pursuits. The students at the graduate and postgraduate level must be exposed to topics like ethical issues, conduct of research, academic integrity, academic misconduct. The higher educational institutions should be zero tolerant to academic misconduct. Next, we can examine the nature of research. So, as it is very clear that we have got this unique feature, the unique feature of human beings to experience the highest degree of organized curiosity. Research is, informally, we can define research as the highest degree of organized curiosity. When we put in a formalized way, we can term it as research. It is a rigorous, scientific, innovative, and responsible effort in quest for truth. And further, it is a systematic and creative investigation in any domain of knowledge. So research becomes an essential and organized component of academic activity. It has the involvement of two aspects. One is the researcher who actually finds something new, and recipients who learn about the new discovery when the researcher communicates the new information or knowledge to the larger group. So thus research is the curiosity-driven pursuit of the unknown. Even the famous philosophers and scientists, they have made interesting observations about research. For instance, let me quote the words of Albert Einstein. The more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. Yes, thus research creates and presents new and authentic scientific information. And it also contributes to the socio-economic benefits for the global community. Research quality must be improved ethically, and it is the need of the hour. So compromising publication ethics or research ethics should not be allowed at any cost. And it is seriously treated as an academic misconduct. And it is definitely regarded as a blot on all areas of research. So we must avoid the compromise, or none of the cases related to the research misconduct should be allowed by the research supervisor as well as by any academic research institutions. How does research becomes an element or a matter of social responsibility? So engaging in research and sharing of its output is definitely a social responsibility. Sharing of the new research output enhances the knowledge base, and if the knowledge is not properly shared, it remains unutilized, or it gets utilized in a very limited manner, and it dies with the researcher. So the whatever the researcher comes across in the form of research must be properly shared to the society. Then only the research can make significant contributions in the coming future. So, as we know that nowadays, we have seen the widespread establishment of universities, various academic and research institutions across the globe. And thus, research activity has been transformed from a self-driven or self-satisfying activity to a greater extent, a state-regulated activity. Let us examine the stages in research. The word research actually indicates researching a phenomenon that in reality already exists and operates, but the underlying principles have always remained vague to us. So, research is an attempt to transform these unknowns to known and to demystify or clarify the mystery associated with the phenomenon. Research follows systematic and rational methodologies. It involves 4 brief steps like hypothesizing, which means to give a possible, not yet completely proved explanation for something. Then making unbiased observation. This is very important because our observations must be always balanced and impartial. Unbiased observation is an allegation against the research ethics. And next, we have to analyze the observations, and based on this analysis, we have to interpret the results to either support or reject the hypothesis. So the measure of our research depends upon the quality of new questions that the research outcome generates. And here we are going to examine the various ethical practices that can be applied to the various stages in research. So Fishman, in his book, The Fundamental Values of Academic Integrity, he defines academic integrity as commitment to 5 fundamental values like honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. And he also says that the ethical researcher must be non-biased, accurate, and honest throughout all phases of dissertation. So the journey of research provides an ethical scenario to the researcher, and it is the commitment and responsibility of the researcher to confine and abide by these ethical policies until the end of the research. What are some of the fundamental questions that every researcher must ask before entering into the research or in the course of the research? What are the major moral principles that guide one's research? How do ethical issues influence the selection of a research problem? How do ethical issues affect when we conduct our research, especially during the stages like design, sampling, procedure, and so on? What responsibility do you have towards your research subjects? For instance, whether we have obtained the informed consent to participate in a project or not. Then what ethical issues or dilemmas might come into play in deciding what research findings that you publish? Will your research directly benefit those who participated in the study? So these are the fundamental questions that may be applied to every researcher. Next, we can define research ethics. So actually, before moving to the research ethics, we must know what is ethics. Ethics is defined as a method, procedure, or perspective for deciding how to act and for analyzing the complex problems. So these are the quotes made by Resnick in his book, What is Ethics in Research and Why is it Important? So research ethics is grounded in the principles and practice of science. So it is a codification of ethics of science in practice. It has a scientific base. So there is no separation between science and ethics because ethics is really embedded in the practice of science. And ethically sound research must examine and re-examine the various concepts and methodologies, leading to appropriateness and adequacy. Here we can find various moral principles that govern and guide research. The principle of non-maleficence. What is meant by this? That means the research must not cause any kind of harm to the participants in particular, as well as to the people in general. The principle of beneficence. Research should make a positive contribution towards the welfare of the people. Principle of autonomy. The research must respect and protect the rights and dignity of the participants. Principle of justice. Here, the benefits and risk of the research should be fairly distributed among people. Respect for individuals. This includes respect for human dignity, respect for integrity and freedom, and obtaining informed consent to ensure individuals' privacy, ensure confidentiality, then protect the rights of children, then safeguard the information securely. Then respect for groups and institutions. So this includes the concern for disadvantaged groups, cultures, and their preservations for private interest as well as for public bodies. The next comes the respecting and protecting scientific integrity, affording and acknowledging the contribution of others, and thereby avoiding plagiarism. Application of research ethics. Here as well, we could find around 8 different headings which the researcher must strictly adhere to at all stages without making any compromise. From choosing the topic of research, conducting literature survey and framing the research question, choosing the research design methodology and constructing tools, then responsibilities towards the participants of research, data collection, data storage, data utilization, and data security, then responsibilities towards community or society, then narrating the presenting the findings and access to research sites, and finally publishing the research article. It's very essential that the researcher must apply all these the governing aspects of research ethics in all the areas and stages of research. So far we have seen, or the presentation has been primarily focused on research and research ethics. And next, the second part of my topic is all about biases. So what exactly is this biases? So we know that research articles having a scientific basis, we can call the research articles as scientific articles as a synonym to research articles. These are the tools of communication. So this is the way whereby the researcher conducts research in a particular area or domain and communicates the same to the society in the way of publication of research articles. So at that time, the researcher must definitely conform to the principles, the twin principles like transparency and accuracy. There should not be something like plagiarism. There should not be anything like biased observations. So any deviation from the truth in data collection, analysis, interpretation, and publication is exactly meant by bias. So if we are moving away from the ethical guidelines, and we are trying to manipulate and fabricate data based on the wrong analysis, false interpretation, and finally, we publish it as our own research article. It is not an article in accordance with the ethical standards. So bias in research can occur either intentionally or unintentionally. And it can also lead to false conclusions, and it's very potentially misleading one. Immoral and unethical. It is considered to be immoral and unethical to conduct a biased research. Here as well, we could find the extension of this bias. So here we have to focus on a moral research, the research based on the moral principles. If we are introducing biases into our research, definitely the research is likely to become immoral. We have, as a researcher, we have the responsibility to conduct and publish unbiased research. But the breaching of or the moving away from this kind of unbiased research to biased research makes the researcher irresponsible, and it can happen intentionally and unintentionally. So we should be aware of all the potential sources of bias to reduce and minimize the deviation from the truth. And authors should confess, if at all there are any kind of limitations in their work. The authors can confess in their article by declaring the non-limitations. And it is a responsibility of editors as well as reviewers to detect any potential bias, if at all there is. And bias in data collection. For instance, we are going to study the population of a particular region, and for this, we are not able to study the or consider the entire people as part of this research endeavor. So we are going to focus on a representative sample, and based on this sample, we are going to connect it as a representative of the population. So our conclusions can be generalized. Otherwise, our study will not have this external validity. So conclusions, for generalizing the conclusions, we need the external validity, and at that time we employ a particular step, and which is known as sampling. It is a very crucial step for every research practices, and even at the time of sampling, we can see occurrence of two kinds of bias, like selection bias or sampling bias. For example, if we are going to study a certain set of patients as part of the selection or sampling study, so sometimes some researchers, they will experience the instance of underrepresentation or overrepresentation. So both the cases, underrepresentation means some set of or certain set of people, as we discussed here, we are talking about the patients. Those set of patients are not properly represented. They are underrepresented, but in some cases, it can also experience the situation of overrepresentation, where they are represented beyond their numbers. So to avoid underrepresentation or overrepresentation, we have to follow the method of random sampling. So random sampling is recommended to have the equal probability. Similarly, to study about any kind of health disorder, if you are taking only the healthy individuals, rather than the real the persons who experience the health disorder. So whenever we go for a sampling method, we have a selection should be based on the validity. It should have a valid reason why we select certain set of people. We do not follow the practice of underrepresentation or overrepresentation, and as such, we may not create any biases in our research. And it can also occur in times of data analysis and interpretation. So if we are trying to fabricate or manipulate the data, yes, and based on these fabricated and manipulated data, if you are trying to report the non-existing data, which we call it as data fabrication, yes, that is also an instance of bias. And similarly, we know that hypothesis is having a significant role in research, and we are eliminating or erasing the data which do not support hypothesis at all. So this is another instance. Then using inappropriate statistical test to test the data as against the ethical guidelines. Then discussing the observed differences and associations which are not statistically significant. So to deviate away from the statistically significant approaches is also are also likely to create bias in our research. And drawing conclusions about the values outside the range of observed data, which we call it as extrapolation. Then overgeneralization of the study conclusions it can also lead to various biases at the time of data analysis and interpretation. So what we come to realize is that Bias in data analysis can only lead to distorted results. Our conclusions may go wrong. We may have to bear unnecessary costs because our research is not in accordance with the guidelines or rules. So again, once such an article or once such a research gets published, yes, it may be questioned by the respective authorities, and it sometimes, as in the case of medical research, it can even cause harm to lives as well. So we have this responsibility of various stakeholders in before scientific publishing. I will have a detailed explanation of who are these stakeholders and their roles in research in the slides that I'm planning to discuss later. So the researchers have a collective responsibility, and all those involved in the research are equally responsible for the scientific publishing. So we should always support valid and unbiased research conducted in a highly professional and competent way. Next, we can find the various stages, the critical stages of research ethics. So while choosing a research topic, what are the questions that every researcher must ask? What is the purpose of this research? What are its benefits? Who benefits? Who gets benefited? Does it harm anybody? So next comes literature survey. So literature survey narrows and refines the objects of research and leads to the framing of the research question. So here as well, we should make sure that literature research is not influenced by the researcher's bias. The researcher should determine if he or she has the tools to conduct the review. For instance, if it is a historical study, will the material be available to the researcher, and is he or she trained to do such a review? So the tools of research need to ensure that the researcher is able to scan wide range of literature. Here, for example, the study of IT workers will review literature on the topic in India, but it should also include literature in other countries because of the cross-national span of the topic. So that's all about literature survey. Then next comes the stage of framing the research question. You know that framing the research question is a very important step in planning research. And the research question feeds into the description. It describes the more about the project. It defines the project. It defines the agency, object, and relationship. So an ethical perspective ensures that there are no fabrications in the framing of research questions. For example, if we are going to study, or the focus of our research study was the fishing community, where the mechanized trawlers had been introduced. So the impact of trawler was felt in several ways across the community. So what should be our research question, and how can we make it unbiased? So the first research question that may suit the situation is the studying the impact of trawlerization on the fishing community. Or the second possibility, studying the impact of trawlerization on the poorest section of the fishing community. So the first study is really miss the crucial part, especially the poorest community. But the second question really keeps the focus on the groups that are vulnerable to change and therefore exhibit the impact of the change sharply. So always it is necessary that we should wear an ethical lens, and this ethical lens will allow the researcher to contribute to the required field. And next comes constructing the research design, methodology, and tools. So here as well, we should give priority to the population who are constantly getting involved at every stage of the study. This involves sharing of the objective of the study, obtaining informed consent by the community before the study begins, sharing research design, describing the tools to be used. Then ethics in sampling methods and data collection. So here, the social researchers, they have an ethical obligation to construct the smallest representative samples possible, And the various ethical issues related to collecting, storing, and handling data may be identified in different ways. We have identifiable data, de-identified data, and anonymous data. Identifiable data includes the data sources and all the details associated with it. Whereas de-identified data will have only the identifiable information removed from it. For example, transcription of interviews that have been permanently anonymized. And what comes under anonymous data? It refers to the data that has been collected without intimating the informant, so that even the researcher may not know how this data has been collected and from whom. And we can here give an example as, for instance, the case of baseline data. For instance, the initial measurement of students' academic, social, and behavioral performance based on previous year's grades and scores. So even the student may not be able to understand how this data has been collected by the new teacher. So even while collecting data, we need to uphold the highest ethical standards. Data protection today is a highly sophisticated area of technology. Several tools and methods are available to ensure that data can be stored securely. But here too, the researcher cannot remain ignorant about the methods of data storage because of the ethical obligation to ensure and secure storage and handling. And data are of two kinds. Under anonymous data, we have the further extension of data into prospective data and retrospective data. So prospective data is the data collected in time, in the present time. It is collected for the purpose of research, and the researcher has more control over how this data is collected and stored. And the information collected must remain confidential. And the question seeking information must be very clear. And unlike retrospective data. So here, retrospective data is collected for different purposes. It is mainly the data that has been collected from the past events or experiences, and it analyzes individuals who have already have gone through a particular situation. The outcome is very clear. So these are the two different kinds of data. Here as well, we have, even under the retrospective data, we have the questions need to be raised about the ethics of using data. Then it is therefore very necessary to check how this data has been collected and if the participants has given consent to the data to be used by others. Next comes recording data. Audio recording as well as video recording create significant ethical issues during data collection. So we are familiar with the structured or semi-structured or unstructured interviews. So we have to properly inform the recipients about the ways in which the recordings will be used, stored, or destroyed, following the data transcription and confidentiality. Next is the ethics in research findings. So genuine research includes both positive and negative results. We know that if a research is focusing only on the positive results, we cannot call it as a genuine research. So the researcher, a good researcher, has to analyze the negative results and find out the reasons for that or accept them boldly. And if the researcher hesitates to record the findings that are contrary to his or her hypothesis, then there is a possibility of changing the results to suit the hypothesis, and which would be a transgression of research ethics. So, research ethics should be or our attitude towards the research findings should be very much impartial. We should follow a transparent attitude to generate a true and authentic research. In the absence of this, there is a fear of unethical practices. And similarly, when we are trying to access the research sites, Here as well, there is an ethical responsibility of the researcher to inform the persons in charge about the ways the study may affect the working of the organization, its members, then how the findings of the study would help the organization. So here we are going to see two important aspects related to research ethics. One is confidentiality and the other one is anonymity. So confidentiality and anonymity are not synonymous. They are two different topics. Confidentiality actually refers to a condition in which the researcher has a familiarity about the identity of the research subject, but takes steps to protect the identity from being discovered by others. Whereas anonymity is a condition in which the identity of the individual subject is not known to the researchers at all. And confidentiality relates the process of information as it is with the researcher, especially the manner of its disclosure. Anonymity has to do with the attribution of the information. Participants may not want their participation to be revealed under any circumstances. So in both cases, it is very necessary that, especially in the case of anonymity, that the biographical, geographical details of the participants must not be disclosed at any cost. And this is considered to be the logical or rational approach that a researcher must follow, both in the case of confidentiality as well as anonymity. Here, two researchers named Sim and Waterfield offer two cautions for the researcher to keep in mind. If the information is more detailed and vivid, the chances of detective disclosure is more. Detective disclosure means logical or rational approach. And if the researcher is an outsider, he may not be able to assess which particular bits of information may lead to unplanned disclosure. So this is so we know that following the research ethics may not be always smooth. Sometimes the researcher may face the dilemma with regard to the disclosure of information, how they should focus their study on the participants, and it happens. And the next important aspect that we are going to discuss over here is informed consent. Already I mentioned about informed consent through the previous slides. So this informed consent has four essential components like disclosure, comprehension, competence, and voluntariness. Disclosure is the extent and adequacy of information given. And whereas comprehension says how well the information is understood. Competence refers to the participant's readiness to give consent, whereas voluntariness refers to the degree of freedom that the participant has in giving consent. Informed consent is very crucial, pivotal in developing the trust between the researcher and human subjects. It becomes the sole responsibility of the researcher to elaborate the objectives and methodologies of research in getting consent. And here as well, under the informed consent, we can find free and informed consent. So this is at the heart of the ethical research. Next, we can come across a particular concept called focus group discussion. So the focus group discussion is actually it's also having it also raises this methodology. It's a kind of methodology which raises ethical challenges. Separate consents need to be obtained for focus group discussions. This involves not only the material presented for obtaining consent, but also the need to explain that in the information may come to light that an individual may not have divulged in one-to-one interaction. So every participant of focus group discussions need to understand this issue before giving consent. So actually, this focus group discussion is a research method used in the qualitative research, where a small group of people, like 6 to 12, discuss a particular topic under the guidance of a moderator. For example, a tech firm They convenes a group of users to navigate a new website and provide feedback on the design. So focus group discussions, even to arrange the focus group discussion, we need to obtain informed consent from them. Next is the ethical issues in data collection. Indian Council of Medical Research has provided 7 main principles as the ethical guidelines for conducting of ethical research. So to begin with, social and clinical value. Every research study is designed to answer a specific question. So, and the answer should be important enough to justify asking people either to accept some kind of risk or inconvenience for others. Next comes scientific validity. It inquires whether the research methods are valid, feasible, or whether the study is designed with accepted principles, clear methods, and reliable practices. Next, we have fair subject selection. So, under this fair subject selection, it is very necessary that we should not exclude specific group of participants. All should be given equal privilege and priority, especially the vulnerable groups. So women, children, and the vulnerable groups should not be excluded from the research opportunities without a good scientific reason. So that is the fair subject selection. Then favorable risk-benefit ratio. So sometimes the research risk may be very trivial or very serious, then short-lived or long run. So risk can be physical, psychological, economic, or social. So everything should be done to minimize the risk and inconvenience to the research participants to maximize the potential benefits. Then comes the independent review. So here we have to minimize the potential conflicts of interest. We have to make sure that the study is ethically acceptable before it starts. An independent review panel should review the proposal and they should ask the important questions, including, are those conducting the trial sufficiently free of bias? Can the study protect the research participants? Has the trial been ethically designed? And is the risk-benefit ratio favorable? The panel also monitors the study while it is ongoing. Next, we have the informed consent, which we have already discussed. So here, the participants should be, the potential participants are given the opportunity to make their own decisions about whether they want to continue participating in research or not. They are accurately informed about the purpose, methods, risk, benefits, and alternatives to the research. Then, through which the participants understand the information and they relate the information to their own interest. They make a voluntary decision whether to participate or not. Then respect for potential and enrolled subject. So here, the individual should be treated with respect from the time they are approached for possible participation. This includes respecting their privacy, keeping the private information confidential, respecting their rights, and in case if they need to withdraw without a penalty, they can withdraw. Then inform them about the new information that might emerge in the course of research. Monitor their welfare. Next, we can find the factors contributing to unethical conduct in research, beginning with competition. So increasing number of researchers is in the contemporary scenario, we can find that the number of researchers are rapidly increasing. And as a result, the societal impact of research outcomes have also become greater, escalating the competition for the sharing of research outputs through publications and other forms. So publication has become a mandatory for the faculties being recruited at the educational institutions to secure their promotions and various other academic benefits. Then claiming priority. So competition is bound to intense, which may prompt the people to find unethical shortcuts to claim the publication benefits. Then next comes ranking. So with resources being limited, the race to win the higher ranking is becoming more intense and global, bringing in its wake loss of academic and research integrity. Then prestige associated with journal impact factor. So, as a result of the intense competition associated with publication in journals of high impact factors, the scenario has become totally unrealistic, often varying unethical demands in the way the research is conducted, data is generated, and publication is compiled. Then, emphasis on quantity rather than quality. So, the competitive research demands relative evaluation of research output of individuals and academic institutions for recognitions, rewards, fundings, and so on. So, with the institutional requirements of certain minimal number of research publications, so the people nowadays, they're rushing for research publications, and this has become the calculation, especially for the purpose of calculating the Academic Performance Index, or API. And let me share the Elsevier, how that publication medium talks about an article. The publication of an article in a peer-reviewed journal is an essential building block in the development of coherent and respected network of knowledge. The peer-reviewed articles support and embody the scientific method. It is therefore important to agree upon the standards of expected ethical behavior for all the parties involved in the act of publishing: the author, the journal editor, the peer reviewer, the publisher, and the society-owned or sponsored journals. Next comes research integrity and ethical conduct. Research integrity and ethical conduct are largely interrelated. Research integrity reflects the moral observance or adherence to the ethical code of conduct, whereas ethical principles refer to the honesty and trustworthiness of the dissemination of research output. So, research integrity and ethical conduct are essential for researchers in order to discover something. To get familiarized with the unknown. To achieve this, it is necessary that the researchers should be conscious about research integrity and ethics in the beginning years of their research itself. So, proper training of young researchers in good ethical practices is the need of the hour, and through this, the administrators, they can create a very healthy competitive environment to encourage the creativity as well as novelty of the researchers, which can prompt them to differentiate between quantity and quality. So research ethics is concerned with the moral issues, and it is also concerned with the ethical conduct of researchers. Ethical governance of research ensures that the personal beliefs or politics do not interfere with the pursuit of truth. The relevant facts and informations are not purposefully avoided. The facts are presented in an unbiased manner. The facts are not twisted, leading to misleading impressions. The references and the works are properly acknowledged, and plagiarism is completely avoided. Then, intellectual dishonesty must also be avoided. So, these are the various principles that govern the ethical aspects of research. So, here you can find the statistics of research. The data source is All India Survey on Higher Education, 2019-20. So, we can find that in this scenario, based on this slide, it's about the colleges and universities offering doctoral degrees in increasing numbers, and many students enroll in these programs but do not receive proper guidance and support in writing an original research study. Estimated 40 to 50% of doctoral students nationwide complete their coursework but not the final act of writing dissertation. The 2019 data clearly indicates that India has over 40,000 colleges providing undergraduate courses, and over 900 universities are focused on postgraduate education and research. Indian Affiliating University caters to degree education, whereas the national institutes and laboratories are more focused on research. And according to this data, about 1.503 million teachers were present in the system. To train 38.56 million students, of which 4.312 million were in the master's program and 0.2 million in the doctoral program. And during 2019, about 38,986 students were awarded PhD degrees. And the Government of India awards nearly 10,000 research fellowships every year. And according to the Scopus data, you could find in enormous number of articles were published from India, and most of these research articles published are contributed from the institutes of national importance and from the large number of national laboratories. So it is well clear that even the colleges, which form the majority, need to focus more on research and research publication. And why do the institutions of national importance alone, they can generate more research articles, unlike the context of the colleges and other educational institutions. And here we can find the new parameters of research. So UGC uses a simpler quantitative measure. As such, the number of publications of a researcher, which becomes an important criteria for the appointment and certification of the research supervisor. And here, the new quantitative parameter emerged in research. The most important one is H index or H indices. It is a measure of how many times an academic, especially a researcher or a scientist, is cited by others in the field. The H index is the largest number of H, such that the H number of papers are cited. And it measures both productivity and citation impact of the publications. Higher value of H index indicates the higher degree of impact. Low H index clearly means that majority of documents published from India remain uncited, which in turn indicates poor quality, inadequate originality, or relevance. Next comes the impact factor of the journal. This is roughly an equivalent measure for the publishing medium itself. Then the site score. It's a new metrics from Elsevier that provides comprehensive, transparent, and current insights into the journal impact. Then we have the SCImago, which compares various countries using the parameters to judge the quality of journals like number of documents, citable documents, citations, self-citations, citations per document, and H index. University Grants Commission.
Ma'am, could you please explain this again, please?
तो तब तक आप एक काम कर लो, मैं आपको अभी WhatsApp पे हाई लिख के डाल देता हूँ.
Hello.
आप जरा जितने बंदों से ज़्यादा इकट्ठे हो पाए आप.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please explain the slide again?
टीम बंदे कितना ज़्यादा काम करते हैं.
Okay. So in this slide, we are going to see the various parameters of research. These are the various dimensions that give our research various perspectives related to visibility or the impact of our article. And under this context, we have three important contributions like H index, impact factor, and site score from Elsevier. H index refers how many times a paper has been cited. So that actually indicates the productivity and citation impact of the publications. So only when a researcher has this H index, has high score of H index, so that means that article might be cited several times by several researchers, and that increases the visibility of the research. So research is something that should not be narrowed down to to the researcher alone. It should have a medium of visibility, and H-index really helps you to develop or to make your research more publicized. So that is a very important parameter of research. And next we have this impact factor of the journal, and that also it's just an equivalent measure for the publishing medium. So some of the journals have high impact factor that based on the frequency of publication, again based on the frequency of the impact that the journal creates on the society as well as on the academic community. So if the visibility of the journal is very low, the impact factor is likely to be very low. So that is another important measure. Then we have the site score from Elsevier, which also provides the current insights into the journal impact. So how much our a particular journal is having an impact based on the current insights or current reach. And it is clear that University Grants Commission of India was at the position 7 in ranking in the year 2020. With a bulk number of documents. But this ranking falls drastically to the position 21 when the citations are considered with H-index 691. And United States is ranked number 1 with a multiple number of documents, and H-index is 2577. So thus India has a lower rank, which means that large number of publications originate from India, but these publications are not properly cited. The researchers have a large number of publications to their credit, but these are not being cited. So this is definitely a serious issue that needs to be addressed by improving the quality, relevance, and impact of research. Next, we have the predatory journals. So predatory journals, as we all know that when you look into the UGC site, we know that which are the journals that we can trust upon. But similarly, based on the same title, based on the same logo, they create these journals, which sometimes make it very difficult to identify, narrow down the gap between the original journal and the predatory journal. But the predatory journals, they always demand for, they always claim fast publication process. The peer review process will not be there. Then our article will get published within 1 week or within 2 to 3 days. So if that is the case, you can definitely associate that journal as a predatory journal. And it is very easy to get our articles published in predatory journals, unlike the reputed journals as well. And another contradictory thing is that it is very difficult to get our articles published in the reputed journals. It may take, the pre-review process may take minimum 3 to 6 months, and I think that in some cases it may even extend up to 1 year based on the I think that most of the people, they prefer as part of improving the quality of their research, they need to get published in the established journals as required and as laid out by the guidelines of UGC, rather than in the predatory journals. So responsible conduct of research, safeguarding ethics and academic integrity in scientific research is extremely crucial. We need not have to make any kind of compromise in publication ethics, because our academic integrity will deteriorate and it will contaminate all the domains of research. So unethical practices in publishing leads to the increased numbers of dubious or predatory journals worldwide. And predatory journals are actually the journals that prioritize self-interest at the expense of scholarship, characterized by false or misleading information, the deviation from best editorial or publication practices, lack of transparency, the use of aggressive and indiscriminate solicitation practices. So predatory journals are unethical journals, and we should educate the academic community. We should create awareness about how to evaluate the integrity of a journal. And this is very crucial in destroying the predatory journals. In India, the percentage of research articles published in predatory journals is very high compared to other countries. It's important that we should prevent the academic misconduct, including plagiarism in academic writing among the students, faculties, researchers, and other staffs. So the Indian academic community ensures that the journals and conferences should follow a particular standard ethical policy. And it is, I have taken this data from a source, and this Predatory Journal Summit, University of Ottawa, Canada. So, as well as the another source by G.S. Sitapati, Santosh Kumar, and Harisha. And based on their study, it is clear that 51% of predatory authors were from affiliated colleges, followed by 18% in private universities and 15% in state universities. So this indicates that the poor quality research, yes, these are the instances, or these provides examples for the poor quality research just by paying money for pseudo recognition, employment and promotion benefits, and even for obtaining doctoral degree. So our University Grants Commission played a crucial role in curbing the predatory journals. UGC released a list of approved journals in the year 2015, taking into account the increased menace and danger of predatory publishing. And after October 2018, UGC decided to take firmer steps to improve the research quality, academic integrity, and to curb the predatory publishers. Next, we can see who are the stakeholders of research. So, the stakeholders of research include faculty members, scientists, and various other persons like complaints officers, educators, principal investigators, then trainees, lab staff, then citizens, legislators, journal editors, publishers, and funding agencies. So together we can call all these people as the stakeholders of research. So all these stakeholders of research are equally responsible in leading the research in a fruitful and in a productive way without involving in any kind of research, biased research, or violating the research ethics. So the stakeholders of research, so we are all in one way or the other, we are all the stakeholders of research, and we should definitely, we should not indulge ourselves with the acts like fabrication, falsification, plagiarism. Because we know that research is conducted for the benefit of the society as well as for the for the improvement of a community or improvement of the further advancement of a topic. So when it is only when it is conducted in accordance with ethical guidelines, we could call it as a productive research. And here we will be observing the dimensions of research ethics. So research ethics. So we have seen what is research ethics, what are the biases that we need to avoid while going ahead with the research ethics. And now it is time to see the various dimensions. So these dimensions are actually the domains of research ethics that every stakeholder must undertake. There are 5 dimensions. And these dimensions mainly reflect the aspect of doing good research. Sometimes these dimensions overlap with each other, but they have distinct practical implications. And they are useful in organizing the various, or they are related to the various subtopics. The 5 dimensions include normative ethics, compliance, rigor and reproducibility, social value, and workplace relationships. So this slide explains the 5 domains of research ethics and how it contributes to the climate of research integrity. You can see 4 different headings like the domain and who are the beneficiaries, as well as the participants, the champions, and interventions. So, as in the case of normative ethics, so here we will be seeing each ethics in detail. So normative ethics is the ethics in the classical sense, that is what is right or what is wrong. So it examines some critical questions like whether informed consent is necessary. For instance, which are the commonly accepted standards of care for when it comes to the treatment of patients. Then, whether conducting harmful research on non-human animals that appear highly intelligent, ethical, when the outcome may benefit humans, as in the case of chimpanzees and gorillas. Are some research questions forbidden? Especially if the consequences of the resulting knowledge could be socially harmful, like the connection between genetics and traits, such as criminality. So that is, these are the different the things that you come across. Normative ethics, the ideal participants will be graduate students and policy makers. And next comes the complaints. So complaints consist of many different activities aimed at ensuring those involved in conducting research, from the principal investigator, trainees, lab staffs. And they also address various questions like which training programs are mandatory and for whom the training programs are conducted. When non-complaints, especially serious, occurs, when it needs to be reported, to whom it should be reported, and how. Then what procedures can help the research team ensure that all the informed consent have the proper stamp, date, and signature. So viewed from this perspective, everyone associated with research has a stake in compliance. Stake in compliance means mutual responsibility. So otherwise, the different groups are primary stakeholders in different regards. And the researchers tend to express particularly when the complaints threatens other dimensions of research ethics. And the third dimension of research is all about rigor and reproducibility. So here we typically examine the concept good science. What exactly is meant by good science? And has the study included animal subjects or human participants from both biological sexes to foster the generalizability of the findings? Or have the biological resources have been authenticated? Have the data been properly documented to enable the replication or model studies? So researchers, they care deeply about such matters. And rigor and reproducibility largely constitute good science. And it offers social value. It justifies the risk to the subjects and financial investment in research. And next comes the social value. Social value means the research addresses problems of importance to the society, generating knowledge. And based on this, we can solve the real world problems through new technologies or procedures. Here as well, we need to address three important questions. Does the study address a socially important topic? Has the public been engaged to identify the priorities? And have these priorities been truly considered in developing research questions? Does the study include a follow-up or dissemination plan to ensure its impact? So scientists have traditionally placed little emphasis on social value, but nowadays its growing significance is apparent in several initiatives. Then the last dimension of research ethics is the workplace relationship. It is a newly identified aspect of research ethics. So the workplace relationship may vary across the countries with different hierarchies and different workload expectations. But still, here as well, the workplace relationship dimension entails certain set of questions like, do members of the research team welcome diversity? Do they treat one another with respect? Does the principal investigator set workloads and deadlines reasonably to enable work to be done without compromising quality? Does open communication enable team members to express concerns about the quality of work or work environment? So what we understand from the various dimensions of research ethics is that whichever be the dimension, everyone, all the dimensions, right from normative ethics, complaints, rigor and reproducibility, social value and workplace relationships, commonly points to a single concept that we all have in a research, everyone is a stakeholder. And the mutual commitment and mutual responsibility are equally shared among the different stakeholders in research. Then next is the research ethics in publication. So once we follow the research ethics, or ultimately it gets represented in the form of publishing an article. So what are the things that we need to be cautious before publishing a research article, especially in the context of research ethics? So we know that the purpose of research is to add to the existing human knowledge, to create new knowledge by addressing the questions that are well posed and try to honestly find answers to it. But before the results are published, the few experts, they need to try, they need to verify, they need to validate them in an anonymous review process. So validation is necessary before our research output adds to the human knowledge. There are some instances of academic misconduct. So some researchers may not be honest while conducting experimental or theoretical investigations. They may involve in fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism, often referred as FFP. And you can also find another term, obfuscation. So these are the major ethical issues characterized as research misconduct. Fabrication and falsification are the immoral or the misdemeanor that we find, that we indulge during research, and plagiarism refers to the misconduct during publication. So during the research, if we engage in any kind of misconduct, then that is credited with the two terms fabrication and falsification. But at the time of publication, if we show any kind of misconduct, that can be placed under plagiarism. So we can see each terms in detail. What is fabrication? Fabrication is the act of making up data or fabricating the results. So the observations are not properly made, they are not properly reported. Rather, the researcher invents something else in order to cheat, deceive. So that is the process of fabrication. Next comes falsification. Falsification is manipulating the information or research material, then omitting data to misrepresent research to suit some other purpose, so as to mislead. So fabrication and falsification of data amount to cheating as well as fraudulent practices. Then next we have this obfuscation. Obfuscation is to hide the information or to twist findings deliberately or otherwise by using the confusing writing styles. So plagiarism is a more commonly discussed academic misconduct, because always in the world of academics, or whenever we try to publish a research article in a quality journal, we come across the word plagiarism under their guidelines that your article must be free from plagiarism. And in some cases, they allow plagiarism below 10% or below 5%, and in rare chances up to 20%. So we are much familiar with the term plagiarism. So plagiarism refers to borrowing or appropriating another person's ideas, words, writings without proper acknowledging. So both fabrication and falsification are fraudulent practices, while plagiarism is considered to be a theft of the victim's credit. So what role do the main author and co-author play in the context of this publication or at the time of publication? So both main author and co-author are equally responsible. They shoulder the major responsibility to ensure against fabrication and falsification from their side. And in some cases, penalty may be imposed for such fraudulent practices. So we must make sure that as researcher, we are not fabricating or falsifying the existing data or the new data that we gather. We are not blindly trusting our collaborators. We need to recheck again before it gets published. So here in this slide, we can see the instance of plagiarism in detail. So what exactly is plagiarism? So plagiarism is defined as the appropriation of another person's ideas, processes, results, or words without giving appropriate credit. It could be in the context of literary world, in the artistic world, musical world, or mechanical world. So whichever the domain may be, or how far the domain may be distinct from one another, if we are borrowing another person's ideas, or we are not giving proper citation acknowledgement, then the process is definitely termed as plagiarism. So it takes place when plagiarism takes place when the researchers become unethical while writing their research output. So it is the a responsible researcher must be honest through all stages of research, right from selection of a research topic to the framing of research questions, methodology, then analysis of data, interpretation of data, findings until conclusion. So we could find different types of plagiarism, starting from text plagiarism. What is this text plagiarism? The use of another person's words is described as text plagiarism. It is also referred as cut and paste plagiarism, and can be easily detected by the available plagiarism detection softwares because it detects the text similarity. And next comes idea plagiarism. So if we are using another person's ideas without acknowledging, then it is called idea plagiarism. It involves paraphrasing the idea, claiming it as our original idea. So it is more worse than cut and paste or text plagiarism. The next is self-plagiarism. There is a possibility of repeating the string of one's words when one is writing a novel idea and doing a series of research projects. So this is termed as self-plagiarism. So to ensure that we are free from self-plagiarism, we must refer to our earlier work. We should not repeat or the same idea or the same concept again. So we must be as innovative and as novel when we write more research articles. So self-plagiarism is another kind of plagiarism that we come across. Next, we have this mosaic plagiarism. So mosaic plagiarism, the writer copies from different sources, then makes a collage of them, then paraphrases the content to be on the safer side. So the mosaic plagiarism takes us to the multiple levels of plagiarism. And the last one is accidental plagiarism. It mostly happens unconsciously, just like the omission of quotation marks, the proper punctuation. If we left out the punctuation marks like an inverted comma, then page number and such things, we can call it as accidental plagiarism. So whatever be the case, so when we analyze from text plagiarism to accidental plagiarism, the level of plagiarism, the level may vary from higher to the lower level. But whatever be the case, we must be very much conscious about the instances of plagiarism which may come intentionally or unintentionally. When we write a research article, we can definitely depend upon the sources, the research articles that are available through our library or through the online sources. We can read them, we can observe them, we can make interpretations, but never use the exact ideas and cut, copy and paste. That is something that we have to, and unless if we use it, we have to definitely acknowledge it in the form of inserting page numbers, and we have to cite that source under works cited or bibliography. So the UGC has set up an academic integrity panel to investigate the instances of plagiarism and to stipulate penalties wherever the plagiarism is established. So it is very imperative for all of us that our research publications, it's not rather the quantity of research publications that matters, the quality really matters. And we have to ensure that our research publications are free from all kinds of plagiarism. And here, I'm going to introduce some common plagiarism checking tools about which we all are familiar, because before proceeding to the publication of research article, it is mandatory that we must make use of any of these plagiarism checking tools, and we can validate our document with the help of these tools. And if at all there are instances of any plagiarism, any kind of plagiarism, we can reduce the level, and if possible, try to make it 0 or just below 5%, and that will be the ideal thing. And I'm sure that certain publishing, certain journals, they demand 0 plagiarism level. So in that case, we need to make our document as absolutely free from plagiarism. So here we could find paraphrasing and plagiarism. So sometimes we have the tendency to paraphrase paraphrase the document, and we make it our own, and this is also a kind of plagiarism. And so paraphrasing is simply restating what others reported and then citing the source. So the correspondence of the words and rearrangement of the sentences close to the original results in the process of plagiarism. So we have to avoid paraphrasing, as well as we have to be conscious about plagiarism. So there are some technological softwares which helps the academic authorities and reviewers in identifying plagiarism. The common plagiarism detection tools include Turnitin, Authenticate, Urkund, Exchequer, and many other things. For instance, then the website plagiarism.org in its website lists the various instances which will be considered as plagiarism. And so what exactly is the instance of plagiarism? If we try to turn someone else's work as our own, then we can call it as a plagiarism. If we copy words, ideas from someone else's work without giving credit, that again comes under plagiarism. If we fail to put a quotation or quotation marks, that is also an instance. Then if we try to give incorrect information about the source of the quotation, or if we try to change words but we try to copy the sentence structure of the source without giving credit. So then if we try to copy the words or ideas from the source, that makes up the majority of the work. So these are the various instances of plagiarism. So a researcher or an author should use the suitable citations like APA or MLA styles of referencing, and through that way, through citing the proper acknowledgement, or through giving credit to the proper sources, we can avoid plagiarism to a greater extent. And here we can find the different instances of academic dishonesty in research. So apart from plagiarism, these are the various instances of academic misconduct. Cheating. So cheating refers to the use of unauthorized materials, information, or study aids. So this is not limited to unauthorized copying or collaboration from a test or assignment, then misuse of electronic device, then using prohibited materials and text, using deceptive means to gain academic credit. Then assisting. That means helping another person to commit an act of academic dishonesty. This also includes paying or bribing someone to acquire the test or assignment, changing someone's grades or academic records, then taking a test for someone else by including the misuse of an electronic device, So thus, assisting is an act of creating and offering a part of doing an educational assignment, not for oneself but for other person after accepting money. Then tampering. Tampering, it means changing or interfering with evaluation instruments or documents. Next, we have substitution or impersonation. It's actually substituting or impersonating for another student. I think that we are familiar with these instances when we read the newspapers or through the online platforms. We could find how people engage in various levels of academic misconduct at the time of exam or any other academic work. Then deception, providing false information concerning a formal academic excuse. Then sabotage, that is acting to prevent others from completing their work. This includes cutting pages from the library books, then disrupting the experiments of others. Then duplicity, to offer identical or unchanged work in 2 or more courses without specific advance approval of the professors involved. Then unauthorized collaboration, using materials or collaborating with another person during a test or other assignment without authorization. Then collusion, supporting malpractice by another candidate. Then salami slicing. It's the data collected from the single study split into several segments to gain reasonable result and conclusions. Then defamation. The researcher must be cautious enough to handle individuals, groups, and organizations without any defaming statements. Then the last one is ghostwriting. So some websites initiate a writing of articles and research papers, including books, theses on monetary basis. Their contribution is broadly termed as ghostwriting. Next, we could find the Research Ethics Committee or Institutional Ethics Review Committee, REC or IEC. So the growing institutionalization of ethics committees. So research ethics, in the context of research ethics, we have seen the various instances of research ethics. So there should be a monitoring body to govern the implementation of research ethics. So for that, we have these two committees, namely REC and IEC. And they are responsible for the implementation of mandatory ethics at various stages of research. So REC or IREC are the committees that review all research undertaken by an institution to examine the ethical dimensions of research. So typically, all research is submitted to the committee at various stages, like the proposal, the research design, data collection, then design after data collection, after analysis of data, and final report. So it examines whether these submissions ensure the rights of the participants, the rights are not properly violated and not have been harmed. Then, role of institutional review boards. So the members, who are the members of the institutional review boards? So the members include, just like we have seen, the complaints, the various authorities in colleges, universities, and research institutions. They play a pivotal part in ensuring the research ethics, right from reviewing to approving the research. So just like we have in some, I think that most of the research institutions, we have the internal complaints cell who monitors the research progress conducted at their institutions. So the main role is to protect the participants from stress, discomfort, embarrassment, then invasion of privacy, and potential threat to reputation. So the proposal should be submitted to the institutional review boards, and it should adhere to the comprehensive information about the study, consent process, and how participants will be recruited, how the confidential information will be protected. We have the questionnaires, interviews, experiments, and observations can be conducted with the prior knowledge of IRB. And the IRB may sometimes recommend changes within the original proposal. So IRB committee's signed permission is mandatory before collecting data. And IRB undertakes two basic types of request: expedited review and full review. Expedited review is productive when there is a minimal risk to the participants. For example, the questions regarding the favorite sports or preferred television programs are probably not disturbing, and it comes under expedited review. Then, what is an instance of full review? The questions regarding childhood victimization, current mental status, alcohol or drug abuse, such questions are covered under full review. Next, we have these research guidelines by UGC. The university.
It's now time to ask the question from the participants.
So, can I wind up the session?
Yes, ma'am.
Should I wind up the session?
Participants, please query your question.
Ma'am, you can share the remaining PPTs, this PPTs, and we can have a question answer session also.
Okay. So I will just move to the conclusion slide. I will end my presentation.
Right.
Okay. So moving on to the conclusion. So it is well clear that publications arise from research, and if the research is very poor, the output will also be drastically affected. So UGC is vigilant about the quality of research supervision. A balance between quantitative and qualitative evaluation is of paramount importance. The ethics in publishing must be followed at both ends, that is, at the points of both from the side of the researcher as well as publisher. Ethics is considered to be a practical and professional morality that allows the research to be conducted fairly. Honesty, integrity, and ethics are fundamental of an enriching environment in research. Teachers, professors, and academicians are the role models, mentors of young minds. So the prevailing acts in research like Copyright Act, Intellectual Property Rights Act, acts related to patents must be respected by the researcher. It cannot be exploited for any commercial publications. And maintaining integrity in education and research shouldn't be limited to higher educational institutions. So the ideals of academic integrity must be indoctrinated at an early age, so that when they become the senior researchers and scientists of tomorrow, they can adhere to this policy of research ethics. So research ethics is definitely, we cannot make any kind of compromise in research ethics. And it must be reflected throughout our life, even in the academic lifespan as well as thereafter. So with this, I'm winding up my presentation. Thank you.
Ma'am, here is one question in the chat box. It is preferable to use label like respondent 1 or to assign fake name when concealing the real identities of the interviewer.
So often it is preferred. So even though we obtain informed consent from the person whom we are going to interview, in some cases it is better to use the labels like respondent 1 or respondent 2, or even sometimes it is better to assign, they mask their real names and use some names instead, as it is written, fake names, rather than concealing the real identity. Because when we conceal the real But when the real identities are often revealed, it may create harm to the person who provides information. So interviews must be conducted based on the participation of the the respondents, but it should never harm, or if at all their sayings or wordings become very controversial to the existing issues, it is the ethical obligation of the researcher to protect them from the upcoming risk and the dangers involved. So in that case, the real names can be masked, or even respondent 1 or respondent 2, or whatever numericals you can provide. That sounds sense.
Hello, good evening, ma'am,
Good
and good evening, one and all. I am Dr. Coco Wangzam from Imphal. I would like to ask you a question regarding one question which has been like concerning to me. How do I avoid idea plagiarism when I'm working in the same field?
I missed the last part of the question.
Like it's about idea plagiarism, but how do I avoid it when I'm working in the same field? Same field as in like I'm in economics. So if someone is also doing the same work, say like I'm in health economics, so others are doing almost similar thing like in HIV, then we have the same data not exactly same, like data may be little bit different, but the thing is like when we do analysis, then we have a for economics or in any other field, there is something called like we use some kind of data analysis which is considered like same, or we like say for example for us it's like multi regression, and then regression analysis is very common. So sometimes we end up using the same kind of analysis for almost a similar kind of data collection when I'm working in the same field. So in that condition, sometimes I'm worried about I'm not copying because I didn't know, but whether it will fall into accidental plagiarism or idea plagiarism, I don't know. But I would like to know from you that how do I avoid this kind of plagiarism?
Yeah. So, ma'am, as you said, it can be a part of unintentional or accidental plagiarism, because actually we are not exactly copying the thing, but since we belong to a common field, certain things cannot be avoided. So, based on that framework, we make use of the idea, and there is a possibility of getting our idea being plagiarized in the real scenario. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think that the best way is to avoid such an instance is to give proper citation. So whichever we've seen that it is likely to create a trouble when we publish the research article. So give as many citation as possible if at all we are copying the exact term or exact idea. So the authenticated source. So in this way, we can, to some extent, we can make our research article free from this idea or accidental plagiarism.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
I'm Sandeep Sharma from JG University. I'm a PhD scholar from Ahmedabad. My question is about the predatory journals. Actually, recently I have read that MDPI journals also are coming under the predatory journal category. So is that so?
Sir, actually, the narrow gap that exists between the real journals and predatory journals, it's a gap is very narrow to say that, because even when I proceed with publishing an article from literature, most of the predatory journals, they have the exact name, and the only way to identify the real the authenticated care listed journals and to exclude these predatory journals is to go and search in the UGC website to make sure whether these journals come under the UGC has has published. But very recently, that is in the month during the month of February 2025, they have discontinued all the care listed journals, which really make them what the researchers at MES at a big confusion whether to proceed with these. But still, if we want to publish, I think that rather than going behind these predatory journals, we can make a search in the UGC website, and we can obtain a clarity regarding the authenticity of these journals. And if at all the journal asks you to pay an amount
EPC,
and I pay an
processing
amount.
fees.
Yeah, processing fees without the review process. I think that is the best indicator to
You're right.
yes, to identify that the journal is predatory. I think that all the good quality journals, they will never publish your article unless they go through the rigorous peer review process, which may take up to minimum 1 month or maximum 6 months to 1 year. If their sole intention is to extract money from the contributor by saying that your article has been accepted and it will be immediately published in the present month itself, and that is how I used to detect them as predatory. And for further verification and validification, you can just refer the site and find whether they have a proper DOI, then whether you can just search for their back issues, and that's the only thing that we can identify the predatory journals. So.
Right, ma'am. And second thing that I come across is normally when they are double peer-reviewed, blind-reviewed journals. So sometime
Yes.
even after the first review cycle, they would, the reviewers would come up with a few things that would include some suggested inclusion of the references. And sometimes I have seen that the references are the articles that are, from the editorial board members only. So does this, comes under our ethical this thing?
In the case of the journal publication, the editorial board, I think they have the exclusive right to publish the article after rigorous peer reviewing process. And most probably from the editorial board, as it is clear that a person will be acting as subject expert, catering to different, as in the case of multidisciplinary journals or interdisciplinary journals. So their validation and maybe at the single level or at the double or multiple level, the peer review process may be done, and they may ask for little bit changes to make either in the in the insight quotations or in the works cited as you suggested. So if that is all part of the editorial policy or peer review policy, and I think that it is we can abide by those rules and we can make little bit changes as being suggested by them to get our article published. So if we try to do something in accordance with the rules, as in the case of peer review or anything that have related to the original article, if you are trying to modify it, making some changes as per the suggestions recommended, then definitely it is going to we are definitely going to add something to our present article, and it also gives a kind of confidence for us to publish further articles in the future, rather than blindly accepting the article and just posting the message that your article is selected for publishing.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Excuse
just
me.
last doubt that I have is about the data collection process that we normally follow. So there are, private agencies or websites like Survey Monkeys. So
Okay.
how can we assure that the data collection done through them is that has not been compromised? Is there any way, or does UGC have any guidelines for those also?
So we're really sorry that I could not contribute much to the question you asked now. Sorry, sir.
Okay, fine, ma'am.
Ah,
Thank you
good,
so much.
good evening, madam.
Good evening.
ma'am. Your session is very fruitful one. You cover all the areas. Here I have one question, madam. You have mentioned many appropriate techniques which is used to check the plagiarism. Just please tell me which technique is more appropriate or easy to use to check the plagiarism in research articles. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I think that I have mentioned about the 3 plagiarism detection tools, namely Turnitin, then we have this Urkund, then Identicate. And apart from this, we have this X-Plagiarism Checker and several other plagiarism detection softwares. I cannot say that the one is better than the other, but from my experience, I think that Turnitin is comparatively a better option because it detects even AI plagiarism as well. In that case, for instance, I'm familiar, I have given an article to a software like Exchequer plagiarism software, where it is clearly detected that the plagiarism level is very low. But when I put the same article, when I subject the same article in the Turnitin plagiarism checker, the rate becomes comparatively higher. So from that moment onwards, I used to prefer Turnitin plagiarism checker, which even has the privilege of checking the artificial, that is AI version, or it is also embedded within that checker. And I think that whichever be the checker, the rate should be as minimal as possible, that is less than 5%, or in some cases just 1% or 2%. That should be the we can revise our article until we reach that percentage before giving to a publication platform.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Hello,
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am,
Good evening.
myself Shivangi Bhatia, and
Okay.
I am from Rishikesh, Uttarakhand. I'm teaching in a university campus right now.
Okay.
So, ma'am, my question here is, I want to know ki you marked 3 literature plagiarism checking applications. So,
Yeah.
is that anything like if we are running our research paper for the plagiarism check, to check on one website or one page, so will it be counted later on as already existing work, or it will remain fresh as it was?
Yeah, this is a very relevant question because my librarian used to say that if a single article is subjected to multiple times of plagiarism detection, the probability of reducing the plagiarism level is very less. That is what I understand. I think that the first time it will be okay, the second time also it will be okay, and it may go up to the 3rd level. But if we are if we are subjecting the same article for multiple times, like 5th time or 6th time, I think that there is a little bit risk involved in it. So it is the ideal is the thing is that at the first time itself, when the report comes and when we really feel that we have adequate level of plagiarism, we should try to make it as minimal as possible. For instance, for the first time, you get the plagiarism level of 10 to 15%. That's what I'm taking, just telling an example. So based on the report you received, wherever the red colored markings were made, you try to change those words. Then sometimes it may be just you avoided a quotation mark. So be conscious to check right from the beginning to the end of the document and make as many changes as possible. So in that case, for the second time, definitely you can qualify this plagiarism test. It won't be much disappointing for you, and so there is no scope for giving you the same article for the 3rd time. So that is a better thing. Always stick on to the report
Ji,
that
ma'am.
you see for the first time and try to make it as minimal from the plagiarism.
Ji,
Ma'am, I have a
Matlab we can
question if
try
I'm
it for
allowed.
like 2 to 3 times if we want to check it. 2 to 3 times is fine,
Yeah.
but going for it more than that, it
Yeah.
can come under like high
Yeah.
plagiarism, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
ma'am. The session
So
was really informative.
thank
Thank
you
you so
and
much.
welcome.
And ma'am, please
Thank you.
ask the organizers to share your PPT, please.
Oh, sure. I will be sharing the PPT to the
Thank you so
organizers.
much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, ma'am, if I may, can I ask my question, ma'am? Hello?
Sure.
All right, ma'am. First of all, it
Hello.
was a wonderful session, very elaborated and insightful. Thank you so much. You threw light on a number of areas which actually required deliberation among academicians also. So thank you so much for that. Ma'am, my question is, can there be an absolutely original idea in the domain of social sciences? First, in addition to that, supposing if you come across an idea, say in a non-academic space, and then you present that idea, you think that idea is something that inspires the researcher's curiosity in you, and you present that in the form of, writing, where since the source is non-academic and maybe many, some decades old, and there has been no academic sort of reflection of the same, would that amount to idea plagiarism?
Okay. So the first part of the question I will answer. It is related to the idea, right? The
Yes,
idea. So in social science research, so I think that whichever be the domain of research, whether it be science or social science or languages for that matter, the idea, if we directly take an idea from any source without acknowledging, then it would come under plagiarism. And if and the best way to avoid the situation is to acknowledge the source properly, whether it be any domain of research, science or social science or whatever be the thing. And the more important thing that you have to remain when you do research in social science is that the research topic that you have chosen should have some significance with the society, the impact that it creates. And while choosing the topic, as it is clearly stated during the course of my presentation, that if necessary, we need to require the consent from the different people involved. Then we need to prepare questionnaires, everything, questionnaires, then some other statistical tools with which we can later on analyze and interpret the data. So whatever be the thing, we must have a clear-cut plan as a researcher, and we must follow the necessary guidelines catering to ethics in various stages of this research. And only in this way that we can eliminate the errors related to the ethical standards, if at all we deviate from the ethics, research ethics, and we can make our research a fruitful and impactful one.
Correct, ma'am. Thank you. About the second part, ma'am.
Second, can you please repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. If the source of the idea is something, maybe an idea in a non-academic space. So there is a space of academics, and then there is real society. A non-academic space which over a period of more than a decade or so has not been reflected into any kind of academic writing.
So you are going to choose a very an unexplored area.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So about which no one has even written an article.
Because Turnitin has not detected, say, 1% plagiarism in that very paper.
Okay. Okay. So that means it is very innovative and very
original.
Very
but the
fresh
source
and
of it yes, but the source of it lies is in a social space. It is not per se a very novel idea. Hence, I questioned, about the novelty of ideas.
it is a very original idea, but somewhere located in societal space, but not in an academic space. So would that amount to idea plagiarism?
So I think that that won't come under idea plagiarism, because only the plagiarism will be detected if if the study has been undertaken by any other firm or institution, or by a single researcher at any point of time. As in your case, if you are taking a new thing, but it is visible in terms of society, but not in the academic space. That means none of the
Yes.
publications or none of articles or books or magazines have featured this social space.
Yes, yes.
So it is through your research platform that you are trying to present
Yes.
you are actually acting as I said, that all researchers are good scientific communicators of disseminating knowledge. So you are sharing the knowledge as a between the society as well as to the academic space. So I don't think that idea plagiarism will come in your case, because you maybe the second research based on it, or the third research, or the upcoming research may they must be cautious about the way about the idea plagiarism, or about how you because since you are the first researcher based on this aspect, I think that you are completely free from plagiarism, and your paper will get good impact factor, because you are really bringing out a hidden point or hidden group of society to the mainstream through through publishing your research article. So it is a very good deed, and I think that all researchers, we must have just have such kind of perspective within our mind before moving with the research. The more unexplored means, the more impact it is likely to create in the future research.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very encouraging as well. Thank you so much. It was an excellent presentation from my side. Thoroughly satisfied.
Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am. One question is here from the Sweta. Do we need to remove all the references before putting it on Turnitin? A demonstration would be helpful.
No, no, there is no point in removing the references, because only when we add the references, we could, the chances of getting so references means the insight, the works incited, as well as the things that we made use of. So if that is the case, there is no point in so the references actually support us that we have taken the context from a known source, we acknowledge it properly, and we provide at the end of the article and the bibliography, or as work cited, or as references. So we should not remove these references. These actually references provide us with a lot of support to lower down the level of plagiarism.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Any participants?
Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Please share the PPT to the group.
Okay, I will share with the organizers, and I think that perhaps they will share the same with you, because I do not have direct access to your group.
Thank you, madam. Very nice presentation. It is very informative, very useful to our researcher. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for the nice words. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
Good night, madam.
Good night.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your wonderful session. Your session have truly enriched our understanding and open new awareness for the research. Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
It's now time to wind up the session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, one and all. Good night.